Welcome to Newsworthy Stories with Jacqueline Jimenez. Thank you for joining us for this special report because I have someone unique and special, and that's Robert Chelsea. He is the first African American to receive a face transplant. And so I'm so glad that you connected with me, you reached out, and we've been able to get even local news coverage to cover this. So, talk to me about who you are and what are you trying to share with us now?
Well, who I am is simply an individual that was in an auto accident as a result of a drunk driver in the Los Angeles area, swerved on the freeway and ran into me. As a result of that, my car blew up, and I'm not sure how much detail you want, but when the car blew up, my lips were burned off and part of my tongue and my whole body. I was in the hospital for about a year and a half, and the first 6 months I was in a coma. So after the coma, we discovered that there were about 30 surgeries during that time before I even got discharged from the hospital. And as a result of that, my skin burned and amputations taking place and so on. The plastic surgeons that I talked with, most of it they couldn't do anything about, trying to help me to eat because um, it, they put a flap on my lips. It was just covered as a protection for my gums and teeth, but it wasn't any control over opening and closing my lips. And
Mhm.
one of the surgeons had known someone that stayed under Dr. Bowden Tomahawk in Boston. As a result of that, they introduced me. They had him call me, and I had several interviews, 3-day interview and a 5-day interview, um, and subsequently became the first African American. Actually, I'm also the oldest transplant patient in the world.
Wow.
There's been about 40, it's under 50 people that had a transplant in the world, including one or two in France and, and some other parts, about 9 different countries. But in the U.S., there's been about 15 face transplants, and I was 15. My surgeon has done 10 of those.
Wow, really? Now it's I know I have
Yes.
another picture of it is a picture of you and I'm not sure if your surgeon is in this picture. I wasn't really sure if but it's when it looks
No,
like it's just beforehand, and so I didn't know, everybody that you sent me pictures. Who is in this picture with you?
that the people. My godson is on the left. His name is Everett Brown. He lives in New York. And then there's me. Next to me, there's George Criscetti. He is the former president of the New England Doctor of Burn Survivors. As you know, I was a burn survivor before receiving a transplant. So that picture was taken, I think, a year or two before I received this transplant. And the other person, far right, Brother Bill Preston. He has my travel companion from Los Angeles. He specializes in pharmaceutical, sickle cell, Alzheimer's, and he's a consultant for his company called Roots Wide. So those are my travel and colleagues. As a result of being burned, of course, that was the first thing that happened, and I got exposed to and introduced to so many wonderful people that also have burned, electrocuted, live poured on barbecue fire, house fires. all kinds of things that have happened, car accidents. So as a result of that, uh, once every 2 years, there's a World Burn Conference that allows invites everyone all over the world to come and be themselves. Everything that's done for that 4 or 5 days is consecrated with burn survivors or caregivers that are associated with it. So it's a wonderful time. And uh, Everett or Rick, Brios too, that are on the far right, far ends, they're my personal. One's my godson, and the other's a personal friend.
I noticed that when we were talking before we started the interview, see, when I'm looking straight on at you, you don't notice, your face is, normal. But if you turn to the side, you can still see that scar all across your head. Yeah.
Oh
And
yeah.
I was like, wow, you really had this face put on you, if you will. So when you look in the mirror, at a different face, what is that like?
Well, I see you in person. I'm not sure if I ever see myself. Fortunately, I'm able to, you know, I'm carrying this face like you carry your hands and your arms and legs. But when I look at it, then I see another person. And the texture of my skin is a little different because it's loose compared to how our natural skin fits us. Skin, obviously, well, what happens in the process of face transplant? They actually strip my face and they strip the donor's face. So it's so much more unique than replacing a liver, lung, kidney, or heart, and so on, where you're taking one out and putting another in. With a face transplant, they're not only strip my face, our team strips it, another surgical team is stripping the donor's face in a actually in a different location altogether. And then they bring the donors to me and sew all the blood vessels, nerve endings, tendons, the muscles, the uh, everything that they can sew it together from top to bottom. And as a result of that, what I have is not just another face. I have another forehead. I have another. The top of my head is is all the same donors. I have another set of chins that I have to get used to. I mean, not set of chins, but another chin. But another set of cheeks. I have another set of lips to get used to. I have another nose to get used to. So it is uh, much different than taking an organ out and putting another one in. And obviously, transplant is external, and you would never know if a person had had a surgery, replacement a heart or a lung, unless they tell you because it's internal.
And that's fascinating. I can't even imagine how many hours of surgery that you've been in so far. Do you have more surgeries to go?
Well, there was only one surgery about 13 or 16 hours. That is for the transplant, the face transplant. I did have another surgery to adjust and tighten up certain areas, things that could be done, but the more surgery, and because I'm actually the oldest, there's a lot of unique areas that actually I didn't even cover that with other TV that I should cover with you. there's so many unique areas, like because I'm black, uh, no one has ever worked uh, transplanted a black face before, and the surgeons are not black. So they don't know the signs to look for as they would a white person. Uh, in the New England Journal, for an example, they have suggestions like uh, to detect infections, etc. You look for pink face, pale face, red face, blue lips, white knuckles. Huh? Well, none of that applies to me. So for them to uh, have early detection on whether my face is being rejected, the transplant rejection, there's they don't have those references to go by. In addition to that, because I'm the oldest, the the cutoff on how face transplant was age 50. I was already 64 before we started talking about having a face transplant.
So you got
So
younger, is
it's
what I'm
a big
hearing.
difference.
So you got a little bit younger. Did you get a little younger with this face?
Oh, well, no, they just, I never drank and all that. So I think that helped with, being healthy enough. So that's how I became oldest.
You know what, Robert, I'm surprised I didn't get a picture from you from what you looked like before the accident. And so I have to make sure you send me that so I can add it in here because I want to make sure that we know what you used to look like before this accident ever
Yeah.
happened. And so you'll have to send
Okay.
that to
Yeah.
me, either add it in the comments or depending on when you can send it to me,
Right away.
I will add it in,
Yeah.
as we're going here. So also not only did you have another face, but you had another life. So I know that this time has changed what you do, because what did you do before the accident as far as like for a living? Now I know that um you take and you talk about a message, you bring a message to us because of the importance of educating minorities about transplant. I know that now you're a speaker, but what were you before you were doing this?
I was called the man. That was my nickname. Provided custom rubber stamps and name badges, desk signs, wall signs, things like that. All kind of marking products, dog tags, anything that had to do with marking products. And I provided that service to various organizations and companies. The Sheriff's Department, Fire Department, Treasury and Tax, Auditor Controller, uh, virtually a county council. I was in other areas, so that's what I did and provided services, post office, uh, anywhere that where a rubber stamp, the register and recorder, wherever a rubber stamp used, public health departments and so on. So that's what I did for a living. I was very fortunate, however, that I'm fortunate in so many ways. My God. But the organization, the company that that pilot or the manufacturer that provides my products, J.P. Cook, they're located out of Nebraska. They continue, even to this day, to provide services, respond to my customers, and they send me missions. Can you imagine when I was in an auto accident? I was in a coma for the first 6 months, and in the hospital a total of a year and a half. As a result of that, uh, every customer I had, how would they know that I existed? If they sent in a request for a quotation, couldn't respond. They didn't know. The banks didn't know. They shut me. They closed my account. I had levies, uh, liens, charge-offs, uh, the light, water, and gas. They all, everything. Your mortgage is gone. You know, because they don't know you're in the hospital, and there's no way to pay them. So all of that occurred during the time I was in the hospital, along with J.P. Cook being kind enough at that time to send the commissions to my daughter until I got uh, well enough where I could take the commission, receive it myself and try to straighten certain things out.
So you still work in this field?
So I still answer. I don't do a lot of calling because I'm still not strong enough to really work, really not even 2 or 3 hours to actually do any kind of real work. But if I get a phone call or someone refers me or asks me, then I do make sure that that customer gets their product.
And I know you're in a hotel room because you're in South Florida to be featured as part of another documentary where they're having an eye transplant. And I know the Wi-Fi is not great because it's kind of in and out a little bit, but I want to make sure that we kind of get that information. Even in the comments, if you could type that out as to what you do or how you bring business, because a lot of the people that watch this are from LinkedIn, and they are business owners and they are involved. And so I want them to know, what you're doing and how you're doing it, and how to contact you so that they can still do business to business with you. And I would like that
Oh yeah,
very much.
yeah.
Because part of it is,
I
go ahead.
part. No, go ahead. You said part of it is what?
No, I was just saying part of it was just, me wanting to make sure that um if they can do business with you, that they can, or people who want to be a part of you spreading this message on educating, people, particularly minorities, about transplants, however they want to be a part of what you're doing. I want to make sure people understand what it is that you've done in the past, as well, so that they can assist you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm known as a stamp man, and so they can reach me through robertchelsea.org, uh, and they can Google my name, and it's easy to find what I've been doing, um, both with this as well as for our disabled diaspora. This is the most important aspect of my life is making sure that we don't just cover face transplant. That's unique. There's only less than 50 in the whole world, but the need is so big for all of us, the burn survivors, the amputees, individuals that never had legs or arms, individuals that require a stem cell replacement. A sickle cell can be replaced by certain stem cells. So there's so many people that can to live a normal life, if you will, just by us being more aware, conscious, and educated about face transplants, transplantation in general, or limb replacement, etc. Bone marrow, all of it is extremely beneficial, and it's not just for the U.S., but everywhere in the world. There's no place in the world where someone has not been burned or mangled. A house fire, accident, a barbecue, electrocution, live poured on them. So many ways people have been figured. So that's my concern. bring as awareness as I can. In this sense, to let you know, Jacqueline, I'm extremely grateful to have an opportunity to be through this, go through this experience myself. I realize that it's not one thing that I would recommend, but glad God saw it to carry me through this. It hasn't been what we would imagine. It hasn't been that at all for me because He's allowed me to lay in His bosom during this whole process. From the accident on, He covered me with a golden thread that has brought joy through this personal experience.
That's incredible. What do you think that you've learned the most from it, Robert?
Well, what I learned, so many things. Obviously, I mentioned the need, the great need for us to be more empathetic toward anyone that may be disabled or disabled. I talk to children when I go to schools. I try to talk with them about peer pressure and how a child underneath, you don't know what's underneath that child's clothing. They could have been birth defective, they could have been burned, they could have been uh, mangled in some way, and so they don't walk the same as the other children. They don't talk, they don't run the same. And so I do what I call a show and tell. I lift my legs up and my arms and show them all my burns, as many as I can, in public, so that they can see that even though I might look normal, what's underneath may not be because of not something of my own. It's not like you purposely hurt yourself. Things do happen, and I want the youngsters after to realize their friend, their good friend, could have had something happen to them that was not a fault of their own. And even if it was a fault of their own, we all have made mistakes. We've all stumbled. And that really is a segue into what Conway asked from me about the young driver, can I find myself forgive him? And I quickly want anyone to know that it's not even something to forgive. It was an accident. It wasn't. It's me. How many times have I deceived someone, misled someone, lied to someone or to many, or to made commitments that I didn't keep? How many accidents have I caused in my lifetime? So how in the world could I take a moment uh, to consider charging this guy because of his accident, and as many as I have had, I mean, so it's easy for me just to overlook that. Now I realize that the circumstances might be greater than someone else's, but not as bad as others. Many people have died as a result, but there's still accidents. So that's kind of how I see how individuals uh, can help the children be more considerate of their friends, and how others can be more considerate of our colleagues and peers all over this world.
Thank you so much for sharing your story and just giving us some insight on what that's even like. I know that you're going to be a part of this documentary, and this is a South Florida surgeon. So hopefully, when the documentary comes together, we'll be able to bring that story to you because it's remarkable as well. It involves a surgeon doing an eye transplant. And he's had an eye transplant himself. So I find that to be remarkable and unique. And so I'm looking forward to hearing more about that documentary as you guys put it together and when it's about ready to be released. Robert, I know you're here in South
Yeah.
Florida. heading back to California. But thank you for sharing your story, and thank you for reaching out to Newsworthy Stories, and just letting me know. And I'm glad that I was able to get more coverage for you in the process, because I believe this is a story that needs to be told again and again in every city that you go to, no matter the reason, because you're so unique. And I'm still baffled on how to remove a face from one person and put it on another. It's just extraordinary.
It is, but you have taken time to my experience into your heart, and
Say
as
that again, because I kind of missed it.
you've taken the time to take my experience and place it to your heart. And as a result of that, we have met and talked, and all of these wonderful things developing out. So it's really out of, and I think the bottom line, you did ask me what are some of the major outcomes of my experience. One of them is I went through when I was still in the hospital before the transplant, as all burned and lips burned off and all that. And uh, I asked our Heavenly Father, how can I now speak your wonderful words? How can I have Bible studies anymore? What method? How do you? What do you want my next steps to be? Since you allowed my lips to be burned off, you allowed my tongue, part of it, to be burned off. I know you don't want me to do a lot of talking, but how can I share? And quickly I got a response, Jacqueline. He didn't need kindness. I heard the verbal word kindness. And I realized then that kindness, he said kindness. I realized then that he's talking about being nice and kind and sweet and gentle, and he's talking about godly, holy kindness. It's a level and a dimension in him that I had yet to attain. And I'm so grateful that this kind of exposure came to me in spite of not being able to talk and walk and up. Kindness is our key, and you're not just you give kindness. You must be a kind person. And so I'm so grateful that revelation has penetrated my heart and found a lodging place where I thought I might have been a nice guy, but now I realize it's a godly kindness that I had, but it was a kindness that man would accept. When it gets to the point where God is pleased with it, usually man won't like it.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I just want you to encourage anyone, if you want to reach out to Robert, and go to robertchelsea.org. You see his email running along this ticker here. Robert, thank you so much for sharing your story. I'm sure this is not the last of our conversation. So thank you again.
Oh, yes. Thank you so much. And thank you, audience, listening. I hope something is said to touch your heart and lift you today.
All right. Thank you.